Hi, my name is Linda Sun. I will be presenting my custom design concept for Trifles by Suzanne Glaspell. Trifles is a one-act play written in 1916 and set in the early 1900s in a rural farming community in the American Midwest. The entire play takes place in the kitchen of the Wright farmhouse during a cold winter day. Even though the setting and the action seem very simple, the emotional and social meaning of the play is very deep. My custom design focuses on how clothing can quietly tell stories about gender, power, isolation, and justice. In this play, what appears small or unimportant often carries the greatest truth, and I wanted the costumes to reflect that idea through restraint, texture, and wear rather than dramatic design choices. For the overall costume design concept, the play takes place in the early 1900s, a time when women in rural communities lived very restricted lives. Clothing during this period was practical, modest, and often worn for many years. This historical reality strongly shaped my design approach. The overall color palette is muted and cool, using browns, grays, off-whites, faded blues, and dull greens. These colors reflect the cold winter environment and the emotional isolation of the Wright household, which is where Mr. and Mrs. Wright lives. Slightly warmer tones appear only in relation to Minnie Wright, that is Mrs. Wright, suggesting the life and warmth she once had. From my script analysis, I learned that meaning in Trifles comes from small details. Because of this, my custom design avoids dramatic features or decoration. Instead, it focuses on texture, layering, wear, and condition. Costume becomes a quiet form of storytelling, supporting the play's central question: whose experiences matter, and who decides what is important? And let's see, I'm going to show some examples of my image research and color rendering. Okay, here. So I will start with Mrs. Wright. Her name is Minnie Wright. She is, although she never appeared on stage, she is the emotional center of the play. Her costume exists through memory and absence. The audience understands her through the kitchen and the objects she left behind. Minnie's costume would be a simple early 1900s farm dress with a long, high collar, and modest shape So I want to show that on my color rendering. Here it shows her outfit. The fabric, and I want to relate to the image research, the fabric would be cotton or wool, suitable for daily domestic work. Her color palette includes slightly warmer tones, such as faded yellows or muted floral prints, representing the joy she once had as Minnie Foster. Her clothing would show visible wear. Here you can see it's kind of old looking, mending and fading. This reflects her years of isolation and emotional neglect. Because Minnie never speaks for herself, her costume must tell her story silently. Next, I have is Mrs. Hale. Mrs. Hale's costume reflects practicality, guilt, and gradual emotional awakening. At the beginning of the play, she aligns more closely with authority, and her clothing reflects honesty and restraint. She wears, as you can see on my color rendering, she wears long, heavy skirt, a high neck blouse, and a shawl. Here on my image research, she has a shawl to the right here. She wears a shawl, and on top layer, a winter coat, which is not showing here. The colors are muted browns and grays, connecting her to farm life. Her clothing is practical rather than expressive. As the play progresses, Mrs. Hale becomes more aware of Minnie's suffering. There is no costume change, but small actions such as removing her coat or revealing an apron or shawl. Here you can see examples from my image research, the shawl, as I showed earlier. So visually connect her to domestic labor and to Mrs. Peters, which is the next character I will show. So that the choice reflects emotional change rather than physical transformation. So physically, she is not changing any costume outfit, but her parts of her wearing, her layers, that is similar to other ladies, that kind of ties them together, and then that shows their bonding. Next character is Mrs. Peters. Mrs. Peters' costume is more structured and reserved than Mrs. Hale's. As the sheriff's wife, she initially represents obedience to authority and order. Here, from my color rendering, you can see she wears a modest dress with long sleeves and a high collar in cooler tones like gray blue, brown, which is her skirt kind of brown. That's a little dark, warm earth tone. And her clothing is neat and carefully worn, suggesting emotional control. Here is my image research for Mrs. Peters. As she begins to emphasize with Minnie, which is Mrs. Wright, her costume visually aligns more closely with Mrs. Hale's through shared layers like shawls or apron. This design choice supports their growing unity without drawing attention away from the story. Next character is the county attorney, George Henderson. The county attorney represents legal authority and emotional distance. His costume is more formal and structured than the others. He wears a dark suit. Here, let me show. I got image research here. He's mostly wearing very formal, authoritative clothing, and he wears this dark suit, overcoat, and hat, typically of an early 1900s professional man. So here I did my rendering of him. Here is the county attorney. His clothing is clean and heavy, sharply tailored. The dark color palette reinforces authority and seriousness. Through script analysis, I understood that Henderson dismisses domestic life completely. He really looked down, and he does not think any importance of what the women do in the daily domestic life. His costume reflects his separation from the kitchen space and from emotional understanding. Next person is the Sheriff Henry Peters. Sheriff Peters' costume also represents authority, but with less confidence or intensity, I would say. His clothing is practical and official, but simpler than the county attorney's. He wears a dark coat. Let me show you my rendering for Mr. The Sheriff Peters. So he would wear, he wears a dark coat, trousers, a hat suitable for winter. He may wear boots, which is the official look of a sheriff. And he wears tailored suit. He doesn't actually, his costume is neat, but he does not wear suit. He wears this overcoat. He's not fashionable. His costume reflects his role as a working lawman who follows authority rather than questions. And this is my image research for the Sheriff Peters. Next, and finally is, last but not least, is Mr. Hale. Mr. Hale represents the working rural man. His costume is practical and labor-focused. He wears sturdy trousers, a work coat, boots, and earth tone layers. So here are my image research of Mr. Hill, and from working class farmer, and then I did a sketch of him. So his clothing shows wear from farm labor but remains orderly. You can see he has this work coat, boots, and earth tone layers of the coat, and then underneath there's a shirt. He wears a hat. He visually sits between authority and domestic space, reflecting his role in discovering the crime without understanding its emotional cause. So overall, in conclusion, my costume design concept for Trifles is shaped by careful script analysis, historical research, and attention to subtle detail. By focusing on wear, texture, restraint, the costumes support the play's themes of gender, silence, and justice. Rather than drawing attention to themselves, the costumes allow the audience to see what the characters learn to see. That what appears small or unimportant can reveal the deepest truth. Thank you.